do kind of a Q&A question on our IUI experience, kind of how we got here, because once we kind of announced that this is what we're going through, we've had a lot of people reach out to us and ask us basically how we got to where we are and kind of what the process was for that, because they're starting to go through the same things. So they're just kind of wanting some answers to their questions. So we thought this might be a good idea to kind of help anybody else going through that as well.
Yeah, definitely. So we kind of wanted to get started with what is an IUI.
Yeah, I've got a list of questions on my phone. So
yeah, before we go through the list of questions, I'll go ahead and read the definition of the IUI.
Yeah. So we thought reading it off Google would make more sense than...
Yeah, better than I can explain it. And then we'll kind of explain, what an IUI is more like to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so according to Google, IUI is a fertility treatment that involves placing sperm inside a woman's uterus to facilitate fertilization. The goal of IUI is to increase the number of sperm that reach the fallopian tubes and subsequently increases the chance of fertilization. So IUI to us was, from the day we had our IUI, I went in and gave my specimen sample, and for an hour we actually left the hospital entirely, and what they say they do is they clean the sperm.
Yeah, they wash it.
They wash it. Yeah, wash it, that's it.
Yeah.
So apparently they wash out all the, most or all of the bad sperm and try to get all the good sperm, to put inside her fallopian tube.
Yeah.
So.
And that's what they do. So about an hour later I came in, laid on the table, and they inserted it straight into my fallopian tube. I think they said it's like 3 centimeters away from the egg, so they try to put it like as close as they can to the egg. So that's what it is.
So now we've kind of gone over what IUI is. We're kind of get more into detail about some of the questions we've gotten and actually go over the process a little more, specifically.
In detail.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the biggest question we've gotten is just kind of how we've gotten to this point, like what led us to IUI specifically over like other fertility treatments.
Yeah.
And we've kind of mentioned this in I think it was our first YouTube video that we did, explaining kind of the whole process. But basically what happened was I went to see my OBGYN. She ran some like initial blood tests, pap smear, that kind of thing. It all came back normal. And basically she did everything she could there. So she sent us on to a fertility specialist. He did more tests on us. He done like John's semen analysis, my, HCG test, thanks. And so from there, and from the results from like the semen analysis, he decided to put us straight to IUI from there.
Yep. The next biggest question we get has been probably the cost. So how much is IUI? And that's going to be different in different areas. We live in Kentucky, and for the most part, just by the research we've done, it seems to be a pretty ballpark figure to what a lot of people are paying.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll go over initially the actual cost the day of the IUI.
Yeah, because there's been several costs leading up to it, like all the tests that we've had from like the day I went to like the initial OBGYN appointment up till
and then medication, things like that. So
as far as the actual IUI.
Yeah. So the first cost was $250 for the labs, and that's the labs to, I guess, for the cleaning.
Yeah, the washing of
semen,
that kind of stuff. That's what I think the biggest part of that is.
Yeah, so that was $250. Then we paid $380 for the doctor to actually, insert the specimen up inside her fallopian tube.
Yeah, so for the actual procedure itself is how much that costs.
Yep.
So that came out to what?
What, $630?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah. So $630 the actual day of, and of course all these costs at least we have to pay them, at the time of the service. We don't.
Yeah, they make you pay like before you go in.
Yep. Other costs were she had to take Clomid, the initial, as soon as starting day 3 of her cycle, and she took it from day 3 to day 7.
That was like the first step of the IUI process was for me to start taking that.
That was $11 for the Clomid from our pharmacy.
So not bad.
Not bad. And then the next one was the trigger shot, and that was $189 out of pocket. So all in all in total, the cost was right around $830 for us.
For just that one day. Basically, that one procedure.
Yeah, one IUI like treatment per month, because it's every month you do it, it's going to be the same exact steps. She gets on the Clomid. There's the trigger shot, and then we go in for the actual IUI. So.
Yeah. As far as like the cost leading up to that, do you remember kind of what that stuff was?
Kind of. From the fertility specialist, since we've been seeing the fertility specialist, our insurance, which is another question we get, is how much does insurance cover? So I guess we'll kind of get right into that
Yeah.
anyway. But insurance doesn't cover any of it for us.
Not for us anyway.
Not for us. It might cover with other people, but I know it's pretty rare. I think you'll do
But with that being said, I do think some cover it, but it's very, very rare.
Yeah. So basically, let's see, going into it, the first cost was the actual consultation the first time we went to see the specialist. That was $300.
Yeah.
So then the next was the HCG test. She actually had to pay, which...
How much was that? Do you remember off the top of your head?
Just thinking on it, it was right around $1,200, and the reason, and I don't remember how the breakdown was exactly, but we had to pay the doctor to come in and look at the results. We had to pay the radiologist to do it, and we also had to pay for the labs.
Yeah.
So
So
those
right
three,
around that.
added up to somewhere between $1,100 and $1,200. The next cost was my semen analysis, and that was $250. And then, like I said, the IUI was right at exactly $830 on the dot.
Yeah.
So,
And then the OBGYN costs leading up to that, actually some of that was covered by our insurance.
yeah,
so,
actually a lot of that
yeah.
was, yeah.
So that's one good thing. Maybe that portion for you guys too will be covered by that.
Yep.
Just the actual fertility specialist part is the part that's harder for the insurance to cover.
They just don't accept most insurances. They don't consider it, I guess.
And actually, as far as the medication for that goes too, my trigger shot would have been at least, I think, somewhat covered, the pharmacist said, by our insurance, but our insurance company had some weird rule where they wanted us to have it mail ordered to us overnight. They wouldn't just let the pharmacist give it to us that day, and we needed it that day because I had to take it that day.
Yeah, it's very time
appointment.
specific.
Yeah.
You can't just take it. You have to take it between the hours of this and this.
Yeah.
There's a set time you have to take that trigger shot. So.
But if we would have had it mail ordered, they would have covered at least some of it.
Yeah.
So another thing, at least some of it may have been covered for you. I think that was kind of rare too for them to ask for that to be ordered to somebody.
And the way he said it, perfectly kind of said they wanted mail ordered. I kind of thought he was joking.
Yeah,
I didn't know if he was actually being serious.
Like a thing.
Yeah, I didn't even know. I mean, we don't take medication. We don't have. Neither one of us really have medication we take daily, other than just stuff now for this.
Yeah.
So we're not really too familiar with how ordering prescriptions works.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah. So.
But yeah. Okay. So when do you get the results? The results from the actual IUI process? It's just like any other typical trying to get pregnant situation.
Yeah, basically what they told us is the day she had the IUI, the actual procedure, 14 days from then she needed a test, and if it was negative, then she would probably start her period within 24 hours of that.
Yeah.
Of course, if it was positive, then they would schedule a blood test.
Yes. So if I got a positive on the at-home pregnancy test, I would have to call in to the fertility specialist to get blood work done to go in and confirm that it is actually a positive, because the trigger shot I took actually has the HCG hormone, which is what gives you a positive on a pregnancy test.
Yep.
So they want to confirm that that is fully out of my system and that it is indeed an actual positive pregnancy test.
Yeah, and one way we actually measured that too, so we kind of have a good idea, is we've been doing, since the trigger shot, she's actually taking a pregnancy test every day, and as the days have gone on,
Yeah, and kind of confirm that it was coming out of my system.
yeah, you can tell the line gets, fainter and fainter, and then finally it'll just disappear eventually.
Yeah, because I just wanted to be able to know, if I did see a positive, that I'd be it is positive, and it's not just me being crazy and been thinking, oh my god, what if it's just a trigger shot, and I'd be nervous until I found out for sure.
Yeah, so basically there'll be a period where that'll disappear, and then either come back or not come back, and that will be,
Yeah, I think it took me about 10 days for it to fully out of my system from the day that I had taken the trigger shot.
Yeah, right at 10 days, because it was, it would just get so faint you could barely see if it was still there. Okay, so the next question we get is kind of a general timeline on everything, I guess, involving IUI. So the big thing is, if you want to do IUI, you need to call your fertility specialist the day you start your period. So that's because you need to start, if you start like we do on Clomid, which there's different ways.
Yeah, I mean, your doctor might obviously do something different with you. It's going to vary for each person. But from our perspective, what happened was, on the day that I started my period, so cycle day 1, I had to call in and to the pharmacy and get my Clomid prescription. And then I take that from cycle day 3 through cycle day 7. And then I call in between that time period between day 3 and 7, and I call into the fertility specialist to schedule my sonogram. You have to have a sonogram before the actual IUI procedure to confirm the Clomid is indeed working and that you're growing follicles like you should be. And the Clomid will cause you, or is supposed to cause you, to grow multiple follicles.
Yep.
Or it can.
It can, yeah.
Yeah.
Which for us it actually did. There were 2 follicles that they called lead follicles, and another thing about IUI is that you increase the risk of twins. So 2 follicles means definitely, there is that chance there for twins.
Yeah,
so.
Which I'd be totally fine with. That'd
Definitely.
Be
That would be awesome.
Yeah, but yeah, there's that chance.
And twins actually runs in our family, so that'd be
Double
fun fact.
Chance. But yeah, from there, so I call in to schedule the sonogram between cycle days 3 and 7.
Mm-hmm.
I go in for the actual sonogram. You have to go in between cycle days 10 and 12.
Yep.
And then from there, granted that everything looks good, you're growing follicles like you should, then they will have you come in 1 to 2 days later to do the actual IUI.
Yeah. And usually what they do is you both get there, about an hour and a half before the actual procedure, and the male will go in and do their specimen analysis. Actually specimen sample, yep.
Yeah.
And then they'll take the time to wash it and then the procedure.
Yeah, which is about an hour and a half later.
Yep. And then of course you got the 14-day wait afterward.
So the 2-week wait is just like a normal.
Yeah. And let me tell you, it is a long 2 weeks.
It is. Like, we've been doing this for about 5 years now, and like this has been the longest 2 weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it takes forever, it seems like, to get to that point where you're ready to test, but it is pretty brutal.
So yeah, try to, we've already talked, if it doesn't work this month, next month we're going to try to literally schedule something every evening, after we kind of get working or whatever, so that we have something keeping our mind off of it.
Because once we get off work and that stuff, we're just
it's all you're thinking about. It's all you're thinking about anyway, but at least you have that to kind of keep your mind off of it. But yeah. But one thing we did mention, I just thought it was the trigger shot. From our perspective anyway, the day we went in for the sonogram is the day that the doctor prescribed us our trigger shot.
Yeah, and we
actually did it that night.
Yeah, and there was a 4-hour window for us. We had to take it between 4 and 8 p.m. So
yeah,
that's probably
so everything is very, very specific. And from the time you have the trigger shot, you have only so many hours that you have to come back in to do the IUI. So that's why they have you come in within 1
It's
or 2
like
days.
36 hours. It's like it's like a day and a half. They had you come back in.
Yeah. So yeah, literally everything is so scientifically specific. I feel like, and it's just
and so if you think that IUI is something you want to do, you need to make that decision. And
we're this is one thing we talked about too. We're really lucky in that our work schedules can be very flexible. We're realtors, so
we are self-employed, so we can kind of control our own schedule. Not a lot of times,
But for doctor's appointments and stuff, we can work around it. But one thing we're talking about is if you worked a 9 to 5 job where you obviously have to be there from 9 to 5, it would be stressful. So just kind of know that going in. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So it'd be just something good to know, and kind of back your mind, just maybe let your employer know that going in that you're going through this, so they can be flexible with you. The other thing we have here is medicines. What kind of medicines or medication have you had to take during this? And we've kind of mentioned that. I had to take Clomid and the trigger shot, and when I went to the fertility specialist originally, they also put me on a thyroid medicine, and we've kind of briefed on this in another video as well, but basically he said, when he looked back at my blood work that I had done at the OBGYN appointments, he said my thyroid level is just a little higher than what he had wanted it to be, so he put me on thyroid medicine, so I'm on that as well.
Okay, and as for me, they don't actually put me on a medication, but I have started taking, they're actually 1-a-day brand. They're actually male prenatal vitamins.
Yeah, so
yeah. And since I've been taking those, I noticed from the time I did my semen analysis until the time I actually done my specimen, providing the specimen for the IUI, my numbers actually got a lot better during that one. So
definitely maybe something to look into. It was only a week difference too, or something like that too. I mean, wasn't a significant amount of time difference in that even taking it.
Yeah.
Of course, I take my prenatal too, but that's one thing you always hear is for the woman to take the prenatal, but you don't hear about it for a man, and that's something we looked. Just from Googling it.
And really, I had a hard time finding it anywhere around here, so I ordered it on Amazon. You can actually order it. It comes in a 2-pack. It comes with the female prenatal and the male prenatal in a 2-pack for each. So
I'm actually going to grab it really quick and just show it
in
case somebody needs it.
Yeah.
It's in my side.
Yep. I thought about it already.
Here it is.
Yep.
So literally, you can tell it's just the women's 1-a-day prenatal vitamins.
It has all your vitamin A, B, C, D, zinc. Yep. And one more thing, this is more specific to me, and it's something that we're going to start doing if we have to do IUI again, but The day we, right before she actually, when she gave us all the numbers, which she done right before she done the IUI.
Yeah, like all of our, or his levels from his.
Yeah, the levels from my
analysis.
specimen analysis, or my specimen, I guess, when they washed it, was, they told me that I had, this is kind of TMI, but they told me that I had very thick semen, and that the sperm sometimes would have a hard time swimming out of that semen.
Yeah.
And they said one thing I could do is to either take Robitussin or Mucinex, the day before and the day of, if we have to do it again. That way it would actually loosen that up and make it, thin it out so the sperm could actually swim out of it
Yeah,
easier.
she said essentially just like if you had like a sinus infection or something, and you took it and it would loosen up like your sinuses in your nose or something, it does the same.
Works the same way with the sperm, so.
Yeah, so I mean that's something good maybe if you're having troubles too, maybe just ask your doctor about it and see if that was, the same for you, because I mean that, if we don't get, the positive this month,
Then that might be the
a
reason.
simple fix that will help.
Yeah, so I'm glad we figured that out.
Yeah. And then the last question we've kind of got here is, I've been asked by a couple people, is the actual procedure painful? And it's not really, like, I won't say it's not at all, but it's not really. So when she actually puts in like the clamp, it's just like, like you're having a regular pap smear. It's not that bad. There's just like a pressure. It doesn't hurt. But when she inserts the catheter, there was a pinch. And she told me before we went, the day that I had the sonogram, she said it's not painful at all, like, because the HSG test was a little painful. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was a little painful when they put the catheter in. So she said it's nothing like that at all. The actual catheter is a lot smaller for this procedure.
Yeah.
So I wasn't expecting like anything, but when she did do it, it did pinch, and I jumped like
yeah, she jumped quite a bit.
table.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really wasn't bad. I just wasn't expecting it. I think it was the big thing.
Yep.
So it's not painful.
And I guess the only other pain would be the shot, the trigger shot for you.
Yeah, and it wasn't bad. It felt like when he was like putting the needle in, it just feels like a little bee sting, just like if you had a shot anywhere else. But then afterwards, I was fine. I didn't feel it or anything like that. I didn't have to have like a Band-Aid or even
Yeah, you can barely tell where I injected it.
Yeah.
And as for my end, it's not painful at all. It's just awkward.
Yeah.
So.
And then one other thing, like afterwards, like after the procedure was done, we've had actually I think I've had one or two people ask what that was like. We just had to lay there for, she told me 5 minutes, but we laid there for 10 minutes just to be safe.
Just to be safe, yeah, just to make sure, give them a little extra time.
Yeah, and that was basically it. So
Yep.
then we were able to just leave, and we had to wait the 2 weeks. And she said, again, if it was positive, call them back. If it's negative, just restart the process. I know some people, like I've seen online, have to actually go into the doctor to do blood work, like with the doctor to find out. But that's not the case with our.
Yeah, with us, I guess we just do the at home, and I don't know if that's due to COVID or that's just their rules.
I think it might be their.
I think it might be their rules. So, anyway, yeah, that's the biggest questions and big questions we've been asked the most frequently. So, if you guys have any more questions or anything, feel free to send us a message, leave in the comments, and we'll be happy to get to those.
Yeah, help however we can.
Yeah, because I mean, you kind of feel like when you meet other people that are going through the same thing you are, you're kind of like you're in it together, and you just kind of want to,
help each other.
help
Because I know us going into this at all, we didn't know anybody personally that had done this, so we didn't have anybody to ask.
Yeah, and then once you actually get into that, and let it be known that you were going through, you'll start seeing that you actually do know people going through.
Yeah, there's a lot of people we've learned that we know that don't talk about it, which is probably fine, but that are going through it. So it's a very common thing. Like, don't feel bad if you're going through it.
And I'm telling you, it's hard to talk about. It's awkward. It's kind of, I don't know, some people think it's embarrassing, but I tell you what, once we got it off our chest, it really it helped. Like it's good to talk about to somebody and let people know.
Even if it's like this,
Yeah.
family or just somebody close to you. Like, I think it helps just being able to talk and sometimes just vent about the process, because it is very mentally stressful. It takes a lot of toll on your body because you just want it so badly. So definitely don't keep it to yourself. At least talk to somebody close to you. I think that's the biggest piece of advice that I can give. But so if we can help anybody, just let us know.
Yep.
But thanks so much, guys.
Thanks. See you guys soon.
See ya.